the show begin. Next generation for the win. We're going all in. All together now, let's begin. Let the show begin.
So we're here in the WiT Studio with Idan Zalzberg, Chief Technology Officer at Agoda. Idan, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to start off by asking you this question. You recently said something about an inside-out approach with AI, right? Focusing on empowering Agoda's employees, so employees at the company. Can you share a success story where AI really transformed internal processes and led to better customer experiences in the long run?
For sure. So this is more of an internal one, but I think it's very interesting because it shows how Gen AI can change relationship between people and communication. So, we have this vision. I think many companies have it. We have a lot of internal support teams that support each other. So if I have a question, I go to this support team and ask about something they own or they manage. And there's always been this issue where these support teams would keep saying, we keep getting the same questions. And then we tell them, okay, write documentations. But then they write the documentation and nobody reads it. Mm-hmm. But then the people that go to the support team, you ask them, why don't you just go to documentation? Why do you go to the people? They'll say, because they never update it. It's always stale. Right. And then you ask them, why don't you update it? Because they never read it. So there's always this chicken and an egg game.
It's a loop, right?
Between, documenting things properly and, having people reading that documentation.
Right.
And what we did is we just put an AI bot in between them. Right. So now when people ask questions internally, we actually have a bot that goes to documentation and can answer from it. And then teams, seeing that the documentation gets used, now actually invest their time in improving the documentation, keeping it fresh. So actually everybody is having a better experience. And in some way we can say we have a better human communication because we have AI in the middle.
Right. So it acts like a very effective middle person.
Exactly.
Right. You're an advocate for innovation and experimentation. And you've said that Agoda runs about 1,000 experiments simultaneously, so at the same time, right? With so many outcomes and opportunities put on the table because of these experiments, how do you avoid analysis paralysis? And how do you sort of prioritize which experiments to scale and which ones are just which ones you can sort of ignore for the time being?
It's a great question, because it really is the bigger challenge of experimentation is not about how to run more, is how not to get crushed by the amounts of data and things you can collect and what you can think of them. So I think what we invested most of our time is not actually in, necessarily scaling it. Mm-hmm. That was part of the work, but the bigger part of the work was the science of it. Right. The science of experimentation. So understanding statistics, understanding what can be significant, what cannot be significant. When you do an experiment, it doesn't just let you do and throw data at you. It tells you, here are the significant findings. Mm-hmm. Here are where you should focus next. So this is where I think the science is really helping us to make sure we keep going back to the core opportunity and focus on what really drives success.
Right. Was there an experiment that gave you sort of unexpected results that you completely did not see coming and surprised you?
Yeah, so there was definitely, every now and then there's quite a few of them that surprise us in this way. I think one of them to mention was example when we started to experiment with a new product that allows people to pay in advance for faster and more specific customer support than the standard. And what was interesting, so that product, the way it looks like, it tells you, you can get the free support or you can pay for kind of the premium support.
Yeah.
But actually what we saw that just by explaining what our free support is, what everybody gets, which was always true, we got a lot of more conversions from customers. Right. So just by spelling out, hey, we will support you, right? Just by spelling it out, we actually gave us more value than the actual premium offering itself, just by messaging it clearly. It's always, it's kind of obvious, but it always surprises us how messaging things clearly that are important to customers is always a huge winner.
Getting straight to the point.
Yes.
Right. How much time do you sort of, during experimentation, right? How much time do you allocate for the learning curve? And then how much time do you allocate for quote unquote failure or mistakes and time spent learning from those mistakes? Because there has to be a balance between hitting a goal that you have in mind and also using it as like a chance to learn something new.
Yeah. So I think, learning is one of the most important activities we can do because, if we take an experiment, we have some, added business value. It's nice. It's good, right? But if you learn something, that's going to give you more value today and tomorrow and the next day because all your actions from now on are going to be better. So what we want to have is the right amount of learning. It's not so much pre-allocating for it because it's case by case,
right.
But it's about at what point you're just, chugging water and you're not really getting anything. You're just playing with numbers and you're lost like the way.
Right.
But what's really important and more concerning to me is not learning enough. And what I call negative learning is where you try something, it doesn't work. And then all you know from now on that this doesn't work. Don't do this. Be careful. Don't do it. But you don't know why. And that's what I call negative learning because it just creates fear. Oh, I'm afraid to do this because last time I tried, I got hurt.
Right.
So if you don't understand the root cause of why it didn't work, then for me, that's a very dangerous place to be. So we always try to get to the root cause. What actually didn't work? What was the underlying cause of that? And then we can take that and become from a challenge to an opportunity.
I have a real good expansion of the question that I want to get to, but are you a Star Wars fan?
Of course.
You were Star Wars. I asked the previous question about learning from mistakes because Yoda says that, failure is the greatest teacher. And I just wanted to get that question to you. But it's interesting what you said because I wanted to ask you, how do you ensure that creativity and innovation isn't stifled by over-reliance on data? Because like you said, if there's so much data and everything's telling you that A is B and C, doesn't that like sort of tell a person not to imagine? What if a person wants to say 2 + 2 = 5 instead?
Yes, it's a great question because I think one of the terms that hurt us a bit as an industry and generally in the tech world, it is concept of data-driven.
Right.
Because it sounds like data is literally driving the car. The data decides what we do. But that's not how we want to be. That's not who we are.
Right.
We want people to imagine. We want people to come with a vision of what they want to build, what is really their passion of building. And we want data to be a facilitator for that, not a hurdle. So the way that we imagine it, you have a vision, you have something you imagine, then you use science to plot the path from where you are today to that vision. Which steps I can take and using data to make sure these steps are actually getting closer to that vision. So for us, it's much more of an enabler than it is of something that is controlling us.
So it's a support system.
Exactly.
Nice. What are the challenges of balancing a consumer-facing platform and also being a sort of B2B tech provider?
Oh, that's a good one because it's hard to imagine how complex it is when you don't think about it to start. So when you think about, it's all just a travel platform. What does it matter? You sell hotels, you sell flights, whatever. But actually it's very different because when you talk about B2C, then what are we talking? We're talking about experimentation, optimizing, changing, flexible, making it personalized, specialized for different markets, localized.
It's a whole new world.
Everything is different for everyone. Nothing is the same.
Right.
When you talk about B2B, sometimes, many times, they want a very specific experience. They want to dictate, this is how the website should look. This is how the app should look. This is how it should behave. Don't use these words, use these words. So we're coming from, and they want to customize it. So it's the balance between being optimizing and flexible to customizable and fixable.
Right.
And this is really a big challenge from a tech perspective, how to build one platform that can serve both these sides. So that's something we've definitely been working a lot in the last, we started B2B essentially 2017. So we had a lot of failures, right, to learn from. And we feel like we're not, completely there. It's not work done, but we've made a lot of progress.
Still on the learning curve.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Nice. Do you think personally that there's a limit to how much technology can solve travel disruption? And I ask because, I wanted to know, like, what is the role that you think humans still play in making such critical decisions? Because now it's, of course, they have the support of data, but they're not machines.
Correct. So I think that, the way we see it is that it's critical that humans remain in control, right? There's the branding that I think GitHub started to call a Copilot. And talking about Copilot, and Microsoft use this word a lot. And I think it's a brilliant branding because that's exactly how we want you to feel. You are the pilot. You are in control. My goal is actually to make you more in control by not flooding you with data that you cannot handle, by giving you, these are your options. This is what happened. Flight has been moved. Hotel is booked. Whatever happened. I want to give you all the information. Here are your options.
Right.
Now you make the call. I can suggest, I can recommend, I can give you relevant information, but at any point in time, you are at the helm, you are driving.
Right. Okay. So they are still the main pilot.
They are the decision makers.
100%. Everything. Okay. My last question would be, so we are at WiT Singapore. The theme this year is next generation. So I wanted to ask you, like, what does next generation mean to you? And it's a two-pronged question, because it's what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to the context of Agoda as a whole?
Yes. So look, when we think, definitely we live in exciting times, right? With the new technology coming in,
Yeah.
We're not going to get a lot of this in our lifetime, likely, like these big kind of changes that change everything. And I think it's very exciting, but it also means that we need to show up and we need to, make sure we take advantage of it and give the customers this next generation. So what I call next generation, as a term, is something that is completely distinguishable from what was before, to be considered almost, if you put them side by side, they're like a completely different product.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think for Agoda, the next generation is saying, okay, Agoda used to be a place where you book hotels. Now it's something that you use to travel. So in a much broader sense than just this is where I book the hotel on, it's something that accommodates you to entire travel experience. Beyond obviously just hotels, we have flights, we have activities, we have ground travel, everything. But also when things changes, when things happen during the travel, we want to be there for you. We want to take away the entire stress of travel, not only at the booking time, but in the entire process, to make it like always feel there's somebody there, looking out for me, giving me information, let me be in control. And I think there's a long path, but once we were there, it will be like, it will be something that will be crazy to think that we never had before.
Right. Idan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
They're ready now. Let the show begin. Next generation for the win. We're going all in. Take center stage now. Let's begin.